Hello and welcome. This is Renegade Files episode 70. 3 years of Renegade Files and the Conspiracy Theory State of the Union. I'm your host Lex Gordon, coming to you from the Jungle Villa Outpost deep in the Uncharted Tropics. And once again we find ourselves at the Pagan Holiday of Mabon, the Autumn Equinox, and another year of Renegade Files cases locked in the Black Cabinet. This show marks our 3rd year anniversary, and in honor of that occasion, and as a tradition that I started last year at this time, I offer you the Renegade Files Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the truth and the weird world of Renegade Files, and to the alternative for which it stands: one nation, undercover, invisible, with conspiracies and mysteries for all. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode and for helping the show reach this milestone of 3 years in podcasting. Like the previous anniversary show, this episode is unscripted and it's a bit looser because of it, but you can still look forward to some deep content. Well, I don't know about that. You can still look forward to some content. How about that? First, I'll go over some statistics to let you know how the show is doing compared to last year and where we want to go from here. I'll give you some basic plans that I have. Nothing too tedious, just a few highlights. Then we'll dive into my annual Conspiracy Theory State of the Union address. This is where I assess the current conspiracy theorist landscape, and this casts a pretty wide net. We'll go over the status of some of my favorite players in the game, some of the people I'm listening to lately. We'll look at what's changed over the past year and what we can look forward to in the coming year, both in the space as a whole and for Renegade Files specifically, and not just in conspiracies, but the whole high strangeness world. This is kind of like my time to chill out with you some, chat about what's happened since we did this show last year, and take a look at what's going on from a high level. Just talk about some of the craziness in a few different areas. This is a fun episode. It's our 2nd time doing it, and I realized as it was coming up that I was really looking forward to it. I can't believe we've been doing this for 3 years now. It's crazy, right? So cool. So let's get into it. Stick with me until the end and we'll have some good old-fashioned weird style fun. First, we'll go over a quick look back at Season 3, how we grew compared to last year, or I guess I would say the year before last year, and what we want to accomplish in Season 4. So as far as episodes this past year, we started with episode 51, the Oklahoma City bombing, and that was huge. It was very technical, a big episode, and it was well received. A lot of listeners said they had never really looked into that event, and they were surprised how involved and suspicious everything was. I was exactly the same way. And those are good times, right? When you and I get to learn together. It's one of the things that makes the show unique, I think. The biggest hit from last season was episode 59, The Lizard People, Our Reptilian Bloodline Overlords. It has the most plays of any of the shows we did last year. And honestly, I was kind of surprised by that. Who knew, right? Personally, I liked the Nassim Haramein episode about unified harmonics and the energy in the vacuum. That was episode, 62? A few people had told me that that was one of their favorites too. I mean, it's deep, it's technical, but it's really cool. So just a quick note about how Renegade Files does its podcast seasons. I never really understood how other shows delineate their seasons, and frankly, I don't think there's any hard and fast rule. I don't even think there's a vague standard. I just decided to designate each year of the podcast a season. Other shows that focus on one subject can make a batch of episodes that cover that subject. So, like a history podcast might do a season on ancient Egypt, then a season on the Victorian era, then the Wild West, or like the Industrial Revolution, right? Whatever. And then they make 5 or 6 episodes for each of those subjects and call that a season. But Renegade Files covers a wider range of topics, yes, within a certain framework, basically everything that's weird. When I started out, I was careful. I didn't want to niche down too far because for me personally, I think I'd get bored with any single subject as much as I love it. So, for instance, if I only ever did UFO episodes, or if I only did political conspiracies, or I don't know, Bigfoot or whatever, I decided to make this show about a range of topics that are basically unsolved mysteries, paranormal events, and covert culture. And that does cover conspiracy theories. And so all of those things where the mainstream narratives just don't add up. I always wanted to do a real investigative alternative media podcast, and I feel like I've accomplished that. It may have taken a little longer to find the audience. We're still building the audience, but it's because it isn't a super focused search term type of a show. So, for example, shows with names like UFO Garage or The Conspiracy Theory Show, literally, those are far more discoverable for those specific niche listeners. But a show like Renegade Files appeals to both of those audiences and more. So in the long run, our fan base is larger, but it takes time to gather that fan base because listeners have to find the show in more organic ways. So that's where you come in, and thank you so much for helping me by, sharing the show with your freaky friends. The difference, though, is that the genuine quality and higher production value of our episodes tends to retain the listeners that we do find. So our fans tend to be seriously enthusiastic. We have a real tribe here, and I love being a part of it. So anyway, back to how we do the seasons. I started the podcast on September 21st, 2021, or that was when we put the first episode up, right around there. And so the Renegade Files podcast year goes from about that time every year to the next year. So each year is a season of shows, and that's how I do it. Our seasons are based on the time of a single podcasting year, and that starts and ends around the middle of September, and that's it. We finished our first year, so what I would call season 1, with 28 episodes and 4,500 downloads. I don't know if that's good or not. I've tried to find out what out of the gate shows do. Some do 20 times that, and some do nothing. I don't know. In year 2, our second season, we added 21 more episodes, which received 6,200 downloads for a total of 49 episodes and 10,711 downloads. So that was 38% more listens in season 2 than season 1. So I'll take the growth of 38% in the first year, right? Sorry, just typing that. And anyway, so at the end of year 3, we're sitting at 70 episodes altogether. And again, we added 21 episodes this past year, and we saw 17,236 downloads for the past year, which is an increase in downloads of 60% over what we did in year 2. And it adds up to a total of about 28,000 all-time downloads. Just to give you an idea of the growth we've had this past year, in June and July of 2023, our second year, we got 1,008 downloads. In those same 2 months this last year, we got 4,362 downloads. So in 2023, in those 2 months, 1,008, and in 2024, in those 2 months, 4,362. So that's a 332% increase. Now, yes, those are our 2 biggest year-over-year growth months, but all the other months had positive growth too. And like I said, we saw overall downloads go up by 60%. And yes, we added more episodes, but we only added 43% more episodes. So positive growth no matter how we look at it. And that's great. So thank you so much for being one of those listeners. And thanks for telling people about Renegade Files. Now, I know there are shows that get our all-time download numbers on each of their new episodes. And that's great for those shows that are doing it at that level. And when I look at bigger shows like that, I'm really not jealous. I think of it as an example of what's possible. I see the bigger shows as an inspiration. I'm happy for them. And It's an inspiration for not just Renegade Files, but for you as a fan to be part of something that's great and that's growing. It means a great deal to me to have you as a listener, and I always do my best for you. That's kind of how I'm trying to do this. If you want to help us grow, the easiest way is just tell people to check us out. And I've watched people just search for Renegade Files on their phone and find us in seconds. If you want to share the show online through social media, just post a link to our website, which is therenegadefiles.com. The website is secure, super simple, clean, and it makes it incredibly easy to find the show in whatever way works best for someone looking for it. At therenegadefiles.com, we have every episode posted with a free audio player right there on the homepage. And there's also the podcast page, which is literally just a list of buttons that takes you directly to the show on all the podcast apps. Apple, Spotify, whatever. If you already listen to the show on Spotify or Apple or iHeart, still go check out the website because there's other cool stuff there too. Like we have a merchandise shop so you can get some cool gear. We're still very highly rated on the platforms that have podcast ratings. I think we're at 4.5 stars on Spotify, 4.5, maybe 4.7 on Apple. And while I'm on the subject, I do want to mention that so far I've kept the shows ad-free. So if you hear an ad in an episode, like on iHeartRadio or the free version of Spotify, those ads are put there by the listening apps and I don't get any money from them. I also have no control over what those ads are or how many are in there. Nothing. And I've mentioned this once or twice before. In the long run, I think the listeners who use those apps understand that. I'm not worried about it really. I'm glad to have those listeners for sure. I just want you to know that if I said in the past that the show was always ad-free and then you heard an ad in an episode, that's why. Some streaming platforms put ads in there and I never even know about it. It's mostly the free versions of paid apps or iHeartRadio, but just so you know. This also brings up another valid point. A lot of podcasts have ads in their main podcast feed and then post those shows without ads on their supporter pages, so Patreon. The ad-free episodes become another benefit for their paid subscribers. I guess you could say the shows with ads become an incentive for people to join the supporter feeds. I've always said I make shows ad-free, and there have been times when I wondered if that was a rash call or not. I did look into it recently, just to see if that was a really bad idea or not, like as it stands right now. But right now, we don't get enough downloads to make putting ads in the episodes worth doing anyway. So for now, we'll just leave it like it is. I will say, though, that if we get to a point in the future where not doing it makes no sense anymore, I will go back on my word and try to find a solution that works for us all. I mean, I've built this show by doing what I say the best I can, and it isn't my intention to start going back on old promises, but everyone makes mistakes. Not the least of which are new to the game podcasters. And if I end up someday in the future having to put ads in the episodes to keep making the show, then that's what I'll do. And I am sure that you'll forgive me, but when I started out, I sincerely thought I would have 400 or 500 patrons by now. Way more than that. I will say this, if it ever happens that I put ads in the episodes, I'll put the ad-free episodes up on Patreon just like the other guys do, and you can check them out without ads there. How's that? Alright, so while we're on the subject, I will mention that we have added a few new supporters on Patreon this year, an increase of 60%, which is awesome and very much needed and appreciated. And thank you so much to the new patrons and to the people who have been there with me from the beginning. I could not do it without you guys. It makes me so just grateful every time I look. So thank you so much. I also try to make the content there good for you guys too, the best I can. My intention has always been to make Renegade Files my full-time job. To do that, I need about 400 RFA agents on Patreon. Now that is absolutely doable. In fact, it isn't even remotely an unrealistic goal. It is, in fact, the lowest stage one of my long-term goals for the show. We are not there yet. You can go on the Patreon and see the numbers and subscribers for yourself if you want to. There's a link in the show notes, of course. I love doing the shows. I'm just going to keep cranking them out, doing the best content I can, and together we will get there. I have a few goals that I've put up there. Patreon took down the goals section, so I just made my own, but I've listed it before. It's important for you to understand what the goals are for the show, and so why I'm doing it. When Renegade Files achieves that goal of 400 RFA agents on Patreon, here's what it'll allow me to do. As I've said, first and foremost, it'll make Renegade Files my full-time job. It doesn't mean I'll quit my side gig or whatever, I won't, but as such, it's going to allow me to do 4 main things for you, the listener. Number 1, devote even more time to researching and producing the episodes, so more content for you. Number 2, create periodic live stream shows and co-hosted episodes. Number 3, attend one UFO, paranormal, or conspiracy conference or field investigation per year and make a special episode based on the expedition. And number 4, I'll give away to one RFA agent on Patreon, selected at random, a brand new Blu-ray DVD box set of the entire series of the X-Files, plus some cool Renegade Files merchandise included as well. And I will do that when we hit 400 patrons on Patreon. In the face of such numbers, you can see why so many podcasters give up. This is serious work. It takes long hours at the level of production that I like to create, and it takes tedious time. And as you can see, the payoff is not instant. But I don't care. Enough about accounting and statistics and goals. You get it. We've done pretty good. We have room to grow, and we are growing. Together we'll grow it. As I said at the end of last year, I think we have something unique with Renegade Files, and it's worth driving it to the next level, the level it deserves to attain. So thank you for being here and helping me do it. I also want to tell you about the Patreon bonus episodes we did, like Max Headroom Signal Intrusion Hack, the Mars Rover episode where we analyzed the possibility that the Mars rovers are actually somewhere on Earth. That was great fun. I did a bonus episode on the UFO conference I went to. I did a bonus episode all about D.B. Cooper. He was a hijacker that parachuted away with a bunch of money and was never caught. We did a bonus episode on Flinders Petrie. He was a real-life archaeologist that inspired Indiana Jones. I also just posted a new episode there on the Patreon bonus episodes, which is an analysis and dive into the Will Smith Chris Rock slap at the Oscars, and a really bizarre but fully plausible conspiracy theory that whole thing is a hoax by Big Pharma. That was so fun. The Chris Rock Will Smith slap thing. Crazy, man. I know. Anyway, all of those bonus episodes are there and many more on the way. They're only available to the fine folks who have become RFA agents on Patreon and help support the show in exchange for extra Renegade Files content. Now, I do understand that gaining subscribers who support the show on Patreon is a numbers game. They say that you get one supporter on Patreon for every 1,000 followers who follow your show. So like Spotify followers or Apple Podcast subscribers. 1 out of 1,000 of those people will go to Patreon. So I don't usually go on big rants about Patreon. Usually. But this is my end of the year show, so I will give you my take on it and why I think it's worth your effort to join me there. If you want to help me keep making the show and hit my goals, join us there at patreon.com/renegadefiles. And like always, I'm just going to be real honest here. The lowest tier is $5 a month, and you can stop at any time, and you can try it for free for a whole week. And the free week gets you access to the same content and bonus episodes that whatever tier you select gets you. And if you've thought about it, now is the perfect time to just do it. Don't be shy. It helps me tremendously. And every new RFA agent puts us that much closer to accomplishing what I set out to do with this podcast 3 years ago at this point. I am not giving up. I am here for you, and I will keep doing this as long as it's possible. Thank you so much to the RFA agents who support the show on Patreon already. It means so much to me. I already said it. And if you also want to help crowdfund the show, you can do so for less than you would tip a server for a single meal out. Without even thinking about it, we throw $5 to a guy who talked to us for a grand total of 3 minutes and brought us one drink and a plate of food that we had to pay for anyway. I've created over 60 hours of entertainment, education, and paranormal content. I ride with you on your road trips. I spin crazy tales of UFOs and cryptids. I do 20 hours of research, 3 or 4 days of writing, and 5 to 7 hours of recording and editing for every single episode. And then I give those episodes away for free. And I pay to host them and promote them, all by myself. Neither Spotify nor any other platform pays me a cent for the streams. It isn't like music from a band. Podcasters don't have royalty contracts. The only revenue I get for doing this is what people donate to the show on Patreon. And for doing that, they get even more content that I also make. And I love to do it. And if you love to listen, then go to patreon.com/Renegade Files through the link in the show notes. I even give you that for free for a whole week. And what's there is really cool. So join me and the other RFA agents, and I will see you in there. Okay, so that's it for the numbers and for begging for money. Thank God, right? I know, it gets boring, but statistics like that are important. I look at them to be sure that we're moving ahead and growing as a show, which we are. And I'm not into obsessing over data. It has its place, but what's more important to me is the content and quality of the episodes, and the enjoyment and value it gives you, the Renegade Files fan. So that's always been my focus, and it is always going to be my focus. So thank you. Okay, so where do we take the show from here, content-wise? As far as the general format goes, I like it, and it's here to stay. I said that last year and we've stuck to it. It works for my style and the subjects that we get into here. People do like the more loose, I wouldn't say reckless, but a little bit casual show. And I like doing those too, so it might be lean in that direction, but we're not going to stray from doing real research. I'm not going to start pulling it out of thin air. We're gonna keep going the way that we do. For the most part, a little more chill is fine. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. As I've said before, I like to put a focused intelligence onto the official narratives and find new ways of looking at all the weird things in our world. UFOs, cryptids, ghosts, suspicious deaths, obvious assassinations, the world of the underground culture like hacking and high strangeness and philosophy and super deep physics, things that look at modern paradigms. Yes, it's a wide net, but it's a fun world, and we're going to keep diving into those unexplained mysteries and bizarre cultural phenomena. So cool. You love all that stuff. I love all that stuff. That's why we're here. So I know I said a year ago that in last season we'd do some of the big hits like JFK, LHO, crop circles, Mandela effect, CERN, Roswell, and we'd do those as multi-part series posted back to back. I know, I said it before, geez, I never was able to do it last year. I feel like Gordo on Those Conspiracy Guys, what's he call it? Hoping out loud, right? Yeah, I get it. So anyway, this season, I'll try to get into some of those topics again. Also, I'm going to try to post more frequently, like 3 a month when I can and 2 a month minimum. I came close to that last season, so I'll just work harder this year. The reason it's important isn't a quantity thing, it's because the algorithm rewards it with reach, and reach means more listeners, so more subscribers, so more supporters, and that means I can keep doing this. So anyway, I love making Renegade Files, so the more the merrier. The last section of house cleaning here focuses on how I'm expanding the overall mission and presence of Renegade Files. This is really exciting. It isn't a radical change, but it is a logical and healthy progression for the show and the identity of the brand. It's really just a productive shift in the way that I look at all things Renegade Files, and in turn, the way everyone does. So moving forward, the structural definition of Renegade Files is this: an underground paranormal brand consisting of the podcast, paranormal lifestyle merchandise, and an annual conference. The basic structure is that of a content creation, brand management, and event production business, each of the 3 components supporting the other. So the podcast promotes the merchandise represents the podcast, and the conference supports and is supported by both the merchandise and the podcast. So It's interesting because I had this epiphany, which was no one really does a serious paranormal lifestyle brand as far as merchandise goes. And I think the world's just ready for it. So the podcast we already know about, and we've gone over what we want that to look like this year. And that includes all the bonus episodes and content I create for the RFA on Patreon as well. The merchandise store is set up and adequate as it is, but I'm in the process of building out a better store with a new retailer, so stay tuned and I'll let you know when that launches. A few things will be fulfilled by the current platform because of quality and style issues, so things like hats, for instance, they'll stay where they are, but the additional storefront will have more and different items to represent the brand as a full-on paranormal gear brand. More on that to come when it's launched. And the conference is going to be an annual paranormal conference with speakers and vendors and event merchandise, and I've been working away on that for the past 6 or 7 months at this point. It's a complex endeavor, but it will be so cool. I'm not making any promises at this point because it has so many moving parts, but I will promise to keep you updated, so keep listening to the episodes and stay up to date on the Renegade Files Paracon. You can also follow us on Instagram, link in the show notes. That's a great way to get new info about the show. Also, to support the conference, we're going to do a few smaller Renegade Files live types of shows that are basically just me presenting somewhere small, probably for free, and I'll let you know about those episodes as well. So good stuff, but enough housekeeping for now. So let's move on. All rise. The Honorable Lex Gordon presiding to deliver the annual Conspiracy Theory State of the Union Address. Thank you. A conspiracy theorist is someone who can observe the culture and its catalyzing events, and within those, recognize patterns, identify connections, and understand context to the degree that the resulting conclusions or possibilities supersede coincidence and illustrate alternative viewpoints whenever official narratives fail to satisfy logic. Last year, we went over some of the OG players in the space and talked about the people I like who are doing it now, and you can go back to that episode and hear all of that if you want. Last year, we also talked about the growth of conspiracy culture within the mainstream. I'm not going to rehash all that here, but a few things do deserve a callback. Like if you recall, back then, roughly a year ago, we saw Russell Brand get accused of sexual assault, and because of that, he got kicked off of YouTube, and his millions of followers and views demolished overnight. So whatever happened with that? Nothing. No accusers came forward publicly, no trial, nothing. It seems like they just drummed that up to kick the guy off YouTube. He's actually back on YouTube already and kicking nearly 7 million subscribers again. His YouTube channel banner advertises his Rumble livestream. That's pretty funny. Other successful people in the space are guys like Alex Jones. Love him or hate him, he's still doing it. Same old Alex. He's getting a lot of stuff right and getting ridiculed by the mainstream for the stuff he gets wrong, or the stuff they say he gets wrong. I catch his stuff every now and then. Sam Tripoli is crushing it on Tinfoil Hat and Broken Simulation, and he has, I think, altogether like 7 podcasts? 6 or 7. I don't know, man. He's a machine. I listen to Tinfoil Hat and Broken Simulation. The style of those shows are a bit more loose and wild, but they do get into some good stuff, and Tinfoil Hat has some great guests on and some seriously cool conspiracy topics. The Tinfoil Hat podcast is definitely holding down the real deal conspiracy theory conversation online right now in a lot of ways. I'm still listening to Those Conspiracy Guys. They took a little break as far as pushing out content, but Gordo did just put up a new episode about a week ago. It's the first episode of their season 9, which is a 5-hour, I think at least, it's a long one, a deep dive into the Manhattan Project. So it's all about the development of the first nuclear weapons. It's a good one. It puts TCG back in business, which the conspiracy crew is always happy about. So go Gordo. We love it. I'm also listening to Isaac Weishaupt a lot. His podcast, Occult Symbolism in Pop Culture. I like Isaac. I like his style. He does a good job of presenting in a casual, conversational way, but also delivering a huge amount of information. I think he probably bridges those two styles better than anyone. I also really like and respect Greg Carlwood and his show, The Higher Side Chats. He's old school, man. Original podcaster. He does 2-hour interview shows on all kinds of crazy stuff. He puts the first half of each episode up on his regular podcast feed. Then he puts the second half of his show on the paid subscription podcast. I think he has his own private paid subscription set up. It's a clever way to do it, and obviously it works for him. His show's huge. He's one of the original conspiracy theory podcasters for sure. You probably already know about him. He is someone I listen to, a solid researcher also, and a great host. So what else is going on? They put season 8 of Ancient Aliens up on Netflix. That's good news. As far as the general conspiracy theory world goes, since we did this last year, the main change I see is a doubling down by the mainstream media in their frantic project to cast conspiracy theorists as unhinged lunatics. I mean, they're really pulling out the stops. That's nothing new, but it seems like lately they've just kind of gone off the deep end with their hatred and total bashing of conspiracy theorists. It's really out of control. I saw one article ridiculing the idea that the Will Smith slap was a conspiracy involving the drug company Pfizer. Like I said before, that was part of my recent Patreon bonus episode. Let me see if I can find that article. It's amazing. One second. Okay, here it is. So this article is on a blog called The Mic, and that's all I'm going to say because it hardly deserves any more attention, but here's just one line from it, okay? The conspiratorial takes are just completely incomprehensible unless your brain is irreparably broken. So what we have here is this. If you think it's more than a coincidence that Chris Rock made a joke about Jada being bald, and Will Smith then walked up the stairs onto the stage, unscripted and uninvited, and actually slapped a comedian, and that the control room and the producers of the Oscars just let that whole scenario play out and broadcast it to 10 million viewers without having any idea about what was happening as it unfolded in real time. And the main sponsor of that TV show is a drug company who just came out with a new medicine that cures the condition that causes Jada Pinkett Smith's baldness. And this event resulted in hundreds of thousands of online searches for her condition, which all led to articles about what that condition is, and that the drug company sponsor of that show now has a new medicine for it. Then this writer for The Mic, whose research into this situation consists of him watching the Oscars that night, tells you that if you think all that is more than a mere coincidence, then, quote, your brain is irreparably broken. Of course, in that article, this guy also has to bring up QAnon and call all conspiracy theorists right-wing extremists. They love those two old saws, don't they? I mean, seriously, does anyone even remember what QAnon was at this point? I think I mentioned that before. Oh gosh, it's crazy. If you want to hear my full analysis of the Will Smith slap incident, you can find it in the bonus episodes on Patreon. The point is that these mainstream media people are getting more and more aggressive about slandering anyone who thinks on their own. It's sad. I've never seen more despicable debunking by the mainstream shills. And lately, it's come with a toxic dose of conspiracy theorist ridicule, and it speaks more volumes to the frailties and insecurities of the writers, far more than it actually makes any valid argument against the conspiracy theory ideas themselves. I mean, they have no evidence to dispute the ideas, so they attack the people who have the ideas, right? No one hates an intelligent free thinker more than a lockstep party line parrot. And just to give them back some of their own medicine, these people were undoubtedly the kinds of college students who only liked the teachers who told them word for word what would be on the test, reinforcing the obvious facts in their lectures with qualifying statements like, "Okay, everyone, now, this is important." Or you ever have those professors that say, "Okay, write that down, it's gonna be on the test"? Jeez, yeah, that's learning. Okay, so the point is, if anything, the concept of considering a conspiracy theory has been fully and aggressively maligned to such a vilified degree by the mainstream that they've started to invoke it at every turn. So the mainstream media now uses the term conspiracy theorist to marginalize entire segments of thought. Much like they used to use the term of, like, drugged out hippie, you know, back in the 60s. He's just a drugged out hippie. Or they used to use communist sympathizer. They used to really pull a lot of weight, right? It's crazy. It used to be the media and the reporters who were the free thinkers and the people who put together the conspiratorial dots because they distrusted the Pentagon war hawks. They used to champion free speech, and now they hate it. Now it's the thought police who slap the conspiracy theorist label onto anyone who questions their Forbes 500, congressional lobbyist, mainstream media, military-industrial complex, big pharma, big tech party line. So the mainstream media vilifying conspiracy theorists is nothing new. It's just reaching new lows of slander. So what else is happening in the conspiracy sphere? We do have some current craziness. A second person apparently tried to shoot former President Trump. We still haven't really learned anything from the official investigation into the first guy that tried to shoot him. I've thought about doing an episode on the second guy, but I'm not really sure yet. Then they had some vaguely reported poisoning thing happen at a Trump rally. Like a large section of one area of the audience all got sick and had burning eyes and a hard time breathing. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Nothing good. Let's see. The second shooter, so the second guy who took a shot or was going to take a shot at Trump, that guy seems to be like a total madman, a very dangerous person in general. What we know about the guy so far is this. The FBI is investigating the case of Ryan Wesley Routh. And why do they always have three names? He's a 58-year-old male who has hid in the bushes and pointed a semi-automatic rifle with a scope at Trump. Trump was about 400 yards away and golfing on a course in West Palm Beach, Florida. And we know that Florida is also conducting its own investigation into the matter. Martin County deputies arrested the guy and said he was fully calm and cooperated like it was just another day at the office for him. Routh, is that his name? Routh, R-O-U-T-H, or Ruth, was charged today with possession, or a charge at the time, with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. That never looks good. Court records show more than 100 criminal counts have been filed against this guy in North Carolina. He has previously spoken about his efforts to recruit people to fight in support of the Ukraine. We've sort of heard about that here and there. Okay, so I'm going to read a few parts of an article from NBC for editorial purposes in the interest of saving both you and I some time, and because they actually do a good job of summarizing what a criminal nuisance this guy is. And that's the guy that took a shot at Trump, or was going to take a shot at Trump, had a gun and pointed it at him. Anyway, whatever. So this guy has 100 criminal charges against him at least, and the entire episode of what he did is sketchy at best. So apparently he hid behind a fence along a wooded section of the golf course, and I'm just paraphrasing from the article here, in West Palm, and I think that golf course runs along Congress Avenue. Part of it does. I used to live in West Palm. I loved it there. So this guy had a GoPro mounted on the fence, like he was planning to get footage of him shooting Trump, which is madness. So from what I can tell, he was aiming his rifle at Trump, and a security agent spotted the guy. The NBC article said it was a Secret Service agent. I guess the agent saw the guy. The would-be assassin pointed his rifle at the agent. Then the agent shot at the guy. I guess he missed. And then the next thing I can find out is that the Martin County Sheriff's Department pulled the guy over and arrested him. So what happened between him getting shot at by the agent and him getting pulled over and arrested? That's just a mystery. I guess he ran away, got to his vehicle somehow, and drove down the interstate. They must have identified his car or his license plate, because how would the deputies know who to pull over? I don't know. This isn't an investigation into the whole thing here, but like I said, I might do an episode on it if I can find anything new or important. It's all pretty fuzzy right now. The conspiracy theory angle here does rear its head right away, though, and that's the fact that I guess Trump had kept his plans to go golfing a secret right up until the last minute. Maybe some insiders and security knew about it. And this gunman lives in Hawaii. So how did he know to be not only in West Palm Beach, but at that exact spot, on that particular golf course, on that exact day and time, when Trump just happened to be golfing by? And then, you know, for security reasons, the Trump organization hadn't made that known to anyone. I don't know. Something strange is going on there, to say the least. I'm thinking I should look into it more. You can follow Renegade Files on Instagram, like I said before, which is the best place for getting current info on upcoming episodes. Instagram. I also post other cool things there. So we're on Instagram as Renegade Files, all one word. Also, there's a link in the show notes. Give us a follow on Insta. So what else is going on in the conspiracy State of the Union? Oh yeah, of course, we've had the arrest of Sean Puff Daddy P. Diddy Combs, denied bail and in jail for a long list of sexual assault and human trafficking accusations. Isaac at Occult Symbolism and Pop Culture's done the work on that. That kind of pop culture figure is fully in his wheelhouse, so I'm probably going to leave it to him. Not that I might not be able to add something, but there is a ton of convoluted stuff going on there. And I don't know all those players. Check out Isaac's show on it if you want to learn the deeper side of it all. It's nuts. I'm sure he's going to do more about it as stuff unfolds. The funny thing is, I've heard a few people say, and this is just in my casual conversations around town, you know, that Diddy is stupid for messing around with some sexual assault business at his freaky parties or whatever, because he had it all kind of thing. And this is totally falling for the psyop here. Or at least it's fully missing the bigger picture. This is about way more than the bad decisions of a celebrity. Alright? The thing of it is, Diddy seems to have allegedly been some kind of Jeffrey Epstein for the entertainment world, providing drugs and sex opportunities for a long list of high-power stars and executives, all the while blackmailing them and getting up to all manner of criminal hijinks. Abusing people for days and all this weirdness. The day he's arrested, a long list of different record company and entertainment management CEOs and board members all like resigned out of the blue. That doesn't look suspicious at all. So Diddy was or is being held in Brooklyn at the same detention center, I guess a federal detention center where they held R. Kelly. I'm pretty sure it's the same place they had Barrett Brown, the journalist who was affiliated with Anonymous. Check out our past episode on Anonymous and the birth of hacking culture to learn more about him. Free Barrett Brown. He's actually been free for a long time now. I just like saying free Barrett Brown. So I read that Diddy's on suicide watch. That's kind of scary considering the guy's never been suicidal that I know of. Terrifying, really. He faces 3 federal charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Decades in prison if convicted, they say, if he lives to trial. Or if he's connected enough and has video of powerful enough people in compromising positions, he may just, heavy air quotes, kill himself, and then the whole thing just disappears and we move on to the next thing, right? That's just my opinion. Allegedly, before and after all that. And I've read in the New York Post that agents looking into the case say that the allegations being put forth in federal cases brought by some of the girls involved can be independently verified by videotapes the agents found in Diddy's home. And the thing about that is, who else is in those videos abusing these girls and guys? I've heard names like J-Lo and Bernie Sanders. Crazy. I mean, allegedly. I mean, Diddy has already been in serious trouble over sexual misconduct in the past. In September, Combs was handed a $100 million default judgment after failing to dispute sexual assault allegations made in a lawsuit by a Michigan man, Derek Lee Cordello Smith, who filed a lawsuit accusing Diddy of drugging and sexually assaulting him at a party in Detroit in 1997. So apparently the judge agreed, and when Combs didn't even show up for the last stages of the trial, the judge ruled that Diddy would pay Cordello Smith $100 million. Have you ever heard about that? I hadn't. But what caught my attention as I was looking into this whole Diddy mess is the idea that drugs play such a pivotal role. And yes, I know, drugs in rap or rock music, nothing new, right? But I'm talking about at a way higher level and going way back. The more I dug, and part of it was something Isaac said on the Higher Side Chat show I just mentioned earlier, but he mentioned the fact that going all the way back to the British Empire and their opium trade wars, remember all that? The developed nations have built their entire presence and power on the back of illegal drug money. And so I started to go down that rabbit hole, and I ended up in the CIA allegedly creating the crack epidemic to fund their black ops, the big industrial revolution guys creating the university system, also the prison system. They also control the media, and through all of those, they insert a culture of violence to propagate criminals, to fill their federally funded privatized jails. And that scene gets really deep and really crazy really fast. So I think what I'm going to do is an episode on all that, and the working title for it at this point is How Drug-Built Empires Strive Toward Totalitarian... Try that again. How drug-built empires strive toward totalitarian police states. It's a mouthful. So yes, Isaac gave me the idea, but this goes very deep and affects levels of society I never really considered, and I'm just scratching the surface so far. So I'll try to get it done for you as soon as I can. Once again, watch Instagram for the episode release. But as far as the conspiracy State of the Union picture goes, Diddy and people to whack Trump are just the latest window dressing. I'm not saying they're not important stories. They are. But we have to remember, Epstein didn't kill himself, right? And when I say something like Epstein didn't kill himself, what we have to remember is that's far more than just a soundbite. And in fact, it has very little to do with the demise or human loss of Jeffrey Epstein. What I mean is, there are deeper things going on there. The real questions around that situation, if in fact Epstein did not kill himself, as would seem to be the case, then the questions are who did? Who has that power? To go into a federal prison cell, kill someone, and never even be questioned? A ghost. Gone, right? Kaiser Soze. So, who has the power to get that done without so much as a raised eyebrow in their direction? I'm not saying whoever did walked in there and did it, but they did make it work. So to get that done without a question. Well, the question then becomes, who stood to benefit from Epstein's death? Powerful people did. People like politicians at the highest levels. A-list actors. Powerful statesmen. Business moguls. International leaders, people with tons of money, on and on. What looks like happened was this. Allegedly, one or more of those powerful people pulled some strings, got to whomever it was with the ability to make the cameras in his jail cell turn off, and have the guards go in there and kill Epstein. then their connections make sure the media just reports that he committed suicide, and no one ever really even talks about it anymore. A culture of amnesia. And that's just one incident. All I'm saying is that Diddy better hire a full-time camera crew to stream his every living jail cell moment for the rest of his life. Here's my prediction about the whole Diddygate thing. And yes, I said it, Diddygate. You heard it here first. One article I read said that he faces decades in prison over the federal charges against him, and those are just the charges right now. What happens when all the other people who were made to have sex or be sex slaves at his parties start coming out of the woodwork, right? Diddy has already, at least at this point, pled not guilty. But they have videotapes, so I'm not sure how that's going to work out for him. But either way, as far as it looks to me, my prediction is there are two possible outcomes. Number one, he ends up like Epstein, suicided in his jail cell. And after a week, we never see another news story about the guy. Done. Or, number two, they actually do hang him out to dry. He gets convicted and sent to prison. His convictions all based on dramatic and salacious witness and victim testimony. You have a big media circus over the whole trial, and all of the videotape evidence ends up being lost, stolen, burned in a freak fire down at the precinct, or otherwise it just vanishes. So write it down. Those are my two predictions for Diddy. Number one, he goes out like Epstein. Number two, they send him up the river, but all of his incriminating videos disappear somehow. All right, so that wraps it up. Thanks for checking out this anniversary Conspiracy Theory State of the Union address, and for helping Renegade Files hit the 3-year mark. Thank you once again to all the RFA agents on Patreon, and for everyone who listens to the show. I love having you in the Renegade Files crew. Until our next episode, I'm your host, Lex Gordon. Stay wild, curious child. And I may just redo that whole entire thing, but at least I got it for now. It's not easy being green.